Good morning, guys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, how's it going? Screezler here, and I hope you're all well. And as you can see, radar is coming to War Thunder, and something that's really good. Yay, we've got radar coming. Now, with the radar systems, there's going to be two types of systems. There's going to be the target acquisition, and there's also going to be the range finding variant of radar. And these two systems, basically, a great way to look at it is if we look at the American tech tree. We look at the M163, which uses a range finding radar. So as you can see here, the radar is basically fixed in one position. So you turn your gun towards that position, and what it will do is it will bounce information back to the radar dish and let you know the distance that the target is away, and then you can fire a little bit more accurately. So it's going to help with the distance acquisition of targets, so you'll be able to sort of range find and get the gun in the correct position. Whereas something like the M247 has a full radar system, has a properly decent operational radar system, and it has both the distance, the target acquisition, and the range finding radar system. So it does both of those things. So I don't know why I'm showing you that with the video going on in the background, but yeah, basically we'll just turn that off for a moment just so you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see the two different satellite dishes here. This one is for your range finding, and this one is the one that will do the sweeps. It'll go boop, get your target coming up, and then you'll be able to acquire where your target's coming from, which direction they're coming from, get them in sign, and then be able to fire at them. Whereas, as I said, the M163 has just got the single radar dish on the side that just allows it to get the distance for the enemy vehicle. So radar's coming in, that's awesome. Now there's also going to be air radar coming in as well. So for planes like the F3D here, for instance, and the Sea Venom, they're both going to be getting it. Customization, that's what I want. So basically in the nose cone here we've got radar. Actually, if we do fly this vehicle, you can see where the radar sits on the co-pilot side. There is a radar system, and it's basically an acquisition system, so it lets you know where your target is and sort of how far away from them they are. So these systems here, so these give you all the details for your radar systems. And what that's going to do for the game is it's going to allow for lead indicators for you. So things like the like a couple of planes will be getting that. Not all of them, but a few planes will be getting it, most of them with radar. One of the interesting things though is something like the German Do 217. If we look at that with the night fighter variant, Do 217N, and this also applies for the HE219A7. It's got all these guffins on, which are a radio system, and these are basically early radar, so it lets you know the sort of position of your target, lets you track them down and things like that. So interesting little system there. We'll be interested to see how it's implicated in game and how it works and how well it works as well, because that's another big thing for this kind of system. But what I wanted to talk about today was the hype train that's going to be happening now, because, well, you American players, for instance, let's just skip ahead in this this video a little bit. Poor old Javelin there. The Javelin does get radar at least, and it gets that acquisition, so you basically get a lead indicator for it, but you're never really going to have that. One other thing as well is the armor system as well. If we look at the armor system in game currently, it's kind of a little bit dorky with some of the, mainly the Russian sort of vehicles. Let's go army. Let's bring up the T80. Actually, let's bring up the T55 AM. So basically, what's going to happen is, currently what happens is, you see how there's the armor here, and then there's the armor behind it. I'm trying to work out the armor value of this and this and this and this, and then you've got to work out that this is really quite tricky. The new system will basically have this all lumped into one, so you can actually see the exact armor value. So as you can see here on screen, you can see that exact armor value now, and you can work out how much thickness there is overall, so a combined thickness of both segments, which is really, really good. But one of the big things, of course, that's coming in is, let's see if we can actually get it in the right spot, the T80U, of course. But this, the M1A1, yes, the Abrams is here, ladies and gentlemen, the M1 Abrams. Now this is the early variant, of course, but the M1A1 is here. Now, the problem with this, for me at least, is the M1A1 is awesome, but to get it, if you're a new player, it's going to take you a long time. If you don't have any Abrams, if you're starting afresh down this line, it's going to take around 40,000 hours to get. And that's if you're playing matches where you have around about 5,000 RP a game, on average. To unlock all of these tanks, it's going to take around about 40,000 hours is what I worked out, which doesn't sound right to me, but it's kind of what I worked out with just that formula. Of course, it might go quicker for you because you have rub boosts and stuff like that, but it's still a long time to go. You know, these tanks take a long time to unlock, and there's a lot of research points you need for them. Combined, it's over 1 million research points you need to get to all down to here, and then you've got to add the Abrams on as well, so it's around about 1.3 million research points you need to get to unlock all of this. Now, of course, you could use Golden Eagles to unlock it, but it's going to cost you probably around about $250 to unlock the M1A1 if you're unlocking everything. So that's quite a lot of money. The other thing, of course, is you need to have free research points as well, the convertible research points. And if you're a new player, you simply don't have that. And what they're marketing on here is, oh my god, the M1A1 is coming into game. There's going to be an M1A1 in game. This is going to be amazing. Oh my god, this is the best thing ever. But to actually unlock it, you need to play the game for a year almost. You need to play this game for over a year. You know, you need to constantly play the game. You need to unlock it. It takes you a long time, and that doesn't counter into all of the rest of the stuff you need to unlock. What I'm trying to say is, don't get aboard the hype train too much, because what's happening is everybody's getting super hyped about these new vehicles, about modernization coming in, about these modern vehicles being in game. Things like the Mitsubishi T2, for instance, that's coming to game, is again one of those things that people are getting hyped about. But again, that's going to take you an awful lot of time to unlock. You know, it's simply not going to be a thing of just simply unlocking. You need to unlock all the other Japanese vehicles, and there are going to be people that only want to play these modern vehicles, and this is what Gaijin is working on, because Modern Warfare has gone a bit belly up, so they're working on trying to get those customers. But it's not going to work when those customers have to fight through, you know, volumes of older vehicles that they don't give a shit about. The biggest thing that Gaijin needs to do is start fixing some of the problems, make the game more playable, make it more enjoyable. There's still problems, like if we look at the naval, for instance, we still have problems today. The fact that, you know, cruisers and destroyers don't have fire prevention from the start, so you get one shot that catches you on fire, and that's the end of your match. You know, even having fires that go out sort of automatically over time would make more sense, but no, you simply can't put out a fire. If you're on fire, you're doomed. There are so many problems in this game that people overlook because there is a fun new patch coming in. There are all these fancy new vehicles coming into the game, but people overlook the old problems. They are overlooking the game systems, the simple cap A, B and C system that they have still. That's still a problem, and that's still something that's not going to go away until Gaijin fixes them. But they're not fixing them. They're simply not fixing the problems. They're just letting the problems stay where they are. They're letting the problems linger. And they do this every time. When people are getting annoyed and aggravated about the game, they introduce all these new shinies for people, so they've got something brand new and shiny to play with. But of course, at the end of the day, they're not going to be able to play with them. So what I urge you to do is to actually keep on it, Gaijin. Ask them to fix the problems, ask them to look into the issues, ask them to get the game right first, and then work on this newer content. Get the game balanced a bit more, get the game working a bit more. These are things that we need to have happen. But until they happen, the game is still going to be in the same broken state it has been in for years. Now, of course, they do have different teams making the models and working out bugs. We all know this. But at the end of the day, they could work on an update where they make new game modes rather than new models. You know, I'm sure the community would appreciate, you know, say 10 different game modes, 10 more game choices, more game options, more interesting modes, than having vehicles that some of them are not going to be able to even get. You know, if you're a new player, you're not going to be able to get these vehicles for at least a year, and you're going to have to constantly grind to get them. It just, as I said, it's the old-fashioned snake oil salesman, you know. This will cure everything. Doesn't work. You come back to him and goes, oh sorry, I gave you the wrong one, here, have this one. This one contains snake oil, so it'll cure you. And it doesn't. It just does not work. Gaijin need to have a bit of a kick up the butt. The community contributors, the content creators like me, need to keep nagging, need to keep going at them, because they need to hear it from people like us before they start listening. If people like, you know, the big channels, for instance, you know, Tech, Scottish Koala, Fly Daily, of course, you know, all of the big channels start saying about the problems, then we may well get fixes coming in. But until then, we're not. It's just going to remain the same. It's going to remain the same stale system. It's going to remain the same stale issues. Nothing will improve without people telling them they need to improve. Okay guys, well I hope you enjoyed the video. Yeah, sorry it's a bit of a down and dire one today, but it needed to be said, and hopefully this will get people's attention, because as I said, everybody is so excited about the shiny new stuff that they are forgetting about all of the old broken stuff that they are worried, that they were annoyed about yesterday morning. Yet today they're all happy because they get an M1A1s in game. The M1A1s isn't going to fix the issues. SAMs may help with the helicopter issues at the moment for top tier ground forces, but it's still not a complete fix. There's not a complete fix for other nations. I mean, the Italians, for instance, I'm still working on the Italian tech tree and trying to grind out the M26, a 6.7 tank that has, if we look at the American M26 at 6.3, it's really no different to the Italian one. The only difference is you get a slightly different penetrating shell. and that drives you up to 6.7, which means you have a much tougher time because you can't penetrate the majority of tanks you face, especially when you've got stock modules. You know, it's all for just the one shell, the one APCR shell. You know, it doesn't make sense at all, and that APCR shell is not really much better than the one the Americans get. There's no real point to it. It doesn't make sense. It's stupid, but what can we say? And with the recent changes to some of the vehicles, like the M36 going down to 6.0 at last, but the R3 T106 FA going up to 7.0, this means the Italians have a really poor lineup. You know, you still got the AUBL, but now it's at 6.7 behind a 7.0, so why not switch these two around, for instance? You know, it's things like that that make this game not work for some nations. There are some BRs that you simply the Italians going from 4.7 up to 6.7, for instance, or 6.0, it's such a huge gap between them. They don't have the option to really carry it on. We look at the helicopters now, and France is getting helicopters. Now, generally most games that you play in at sort of 8.0 is Italy, Japan, Germany versus USA, USSR, Britain and France. So that team still only has one helicopter, whereas the other nation has access to 3. You know, there are all of these problems that still exist in the game and need to be fixed. Yet, the snake oil salesman will say, just have another bottle, it'll be fine. And everybody's listening, everybody's buying in, and everybody's drinking that Kool-Aid. Alright guys, until next time, this is me, Screezilla out. Keep up the good fight, ladies and gentlemen. Keep up the good fight. Bye-bye.